betting preview of the NHL on Pucks Across Borders and on Total Apex Sports, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, tons and tons of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. 20% becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. You get the picture. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off your order. That's the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com, firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my.
And welcome to this Tuesday betting preview edition, Wednesday betting preview edition of Pucks Across Borders on Total Apex Sports. Good to be back. I am Mark Sauter. With me, as always, Andre. Had the day off yesterday. We were going to do a show yesterday, and just both of us busy and elections. I don't know if you knew this, Andre, but you had elections down there yesterday. I heard a little bit about it. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, politics. I mean, you know, it is what it is. No big deal. And here we are. We're back. It's Wednesday. We got some games to talk about from last night and some games to talk about tonight. Lighter slate tonight than last night, but let's get into the action. But, of course, as always, before we do, Andre, how you feeling on a Wednesday night, bro? Good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you asked. I'm doing all right. Not much to complain about. Hope you're doing well also. Well, I guess there's a little bit to complain about. The Rangers haven't played since Sunday. They don't play today either. Yeah, that's about it. How are you doing,
man? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. All is sunny in Leafland. The Leafs finally beat the Boston Bruins for the first time since November the 5th, 2022, when it comes to the regular season. Anyway, sure, they beat them in the playoffs last year, but they didn't win the series. So does that even matter? But we'll get into it. But first, let's just quickly go through. Ottawa played the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. Buffalo winning 5-1 last night. Quick little comment on this game. I'm just going to make this short and sweet. I was going to use this as my takeaway, but I talk about Ottawa and Buffalo for that matter too much, so I'll keep this short and sweet. If we had a show yesterday, I would have said that this game is going to tell us all we need to know about Buffalo. I really felt that if Buffalo lost that game yesterday, they were done. It's over. There's no hope. If you can't beat Ottawa when your season is not literally on the line, but effectively on the line, then you're done. You're out. I don't believe in you anymore. Well, they come out. They not only win 5-1, started 2-0. Ottawa came on towards the middle of the second period, making it 2-1. And then in the third period, Buffalo just took over, scoring 3 straight goals, and the game was over. So good for Buffalo. On the Ottawa side of things, I know that the season's still young. I know that there's still time. They may be in this thing by the time it's all said and done. Very possible. But if you're Ottawa, like Boston's losing right now, like teams are losing right now. Boston's losing right now. Toronto's still figuring it out. Tampa Bay's still figuring it out. Like the teams that you're going to inevitably be chasing are all figuring it out right now. You have to beat Buffalo. You have to. I don't care if you're on the road. I know Ottawa's had some really good games, but if you want to chase these teams all the way into the playoffs, you got to win these games. You have to early in the year, and they didn't get the job done. So we'll see what happens. Moving on, the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Boston Bruins 4-0. The Flames beat the Canadiens in Montreal 3-2 in overtime. Montreal had that game. They had it, let it slip away in the final minutes, and then what was it? 7 seconds into overtime?
It's pretty quick, I can tell you that.
Yeah, Coronado scores 7 seconds into overtime. Game's over. The Philadelphia Flyers scored 4 goals on 16 shots and wasn't enough. They lose 6-4 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Pittsburgh Penguins lose in overtime to the Islanders 4-3. The Lightning lose to the Blues 3-2. I'm just going to put this out there as a mandate. Can't make fun of the St. Louis Blues for a while. They are getting hit with major injuries, seems like every single night. Super scary moment last night when Dylan Holloway got hit in the throat by a Nick Paul shot. Finished the shift, all seemed fine, and then ended up having an episode on the bench. Stretchers pulled him out. He's okay. He will be okay. All reports seem to indicate that he will be okay. Scary moment for St. Louis, but that team just getting injury after injury every night. They still pull out the win, 3-2 against the Lightning. Our Los Angeles Kings. We knew this would happen. It's a good thing that we didn't have a show yesterday because I feel like we would have gotten a lot of this stuff wrong. The LA Kings going to Minnesota. They win 5-1. This is one game. We've talked about how these odds have been astronomical, and we keep going on the other side of it, and Vegas always seems to be right. Vegas was dead wrong about this one. The Wild were minus 176 favorites yesterday afternoon when I was checking the odds, and the Kings come out and throw a beatdown on the Wild 5-1. The Jets keep on rolling. They beat Utah 3-0 in Winnipeg. The Avalanche 6-3 over Seattle. Reinforcements are incoming. Lehkonen is Lehkonen. Anyway, he's coming back. Nikushkin, he is coming back next week from all reports. The Canucks beat the Ducks 5-1 in Anaheim. And the San Jose Sharks pull
There
it
you
out.
go. There it is.
2-1 in shootout or overtime. Was it shootout? Overtime.
It was OT.
Jackets, 50 shots on net. And Vanacek just holds it down. 2-1, the San Jose Sharks win. And that is your Tuesday night recap. Over to you, Andre. Out of all of that chaos, what was your biggest takeaway from the NHL on Tuesday night?
Well, not my biggest takeaway. I feel like the Sharks have one of these games like once every few months where I remember it was Devin Cooley last year, I think, who made like 49 saves, I think, in an OT game. I don't know what really goes on in Sharkland, but those goalies, they're not getting enough compensation for what they do sometimes. My biggest takeaway, though, has actually pivoted because what's going on with the Kraken? They were doing so well. 4-2 start. They were looking good. The struggling Avalanche team. Everything was right in the world. Then they lost that game. And then they lost the next two to the Jets and the Canes. Good teams. Got back on track to start the road trip in Montreal. 8-2 win. They scored 4 goals in 4 games since then. They've lost all 4 of those games. Your Leafs beat them 4-1. They got shut out twice in a row. And then they just lost 6-3 to the Avs last night. They're going to be back home on Friday against Vegas Golden Knights. We know Vegas, they have their struggles on the road. We're going to get to that in a bit. What is going on in Seattle? They've fallen completely off as a team that I personally was like, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be all right. They looked the part to start the year, and right now, so to speak, only 11 points now, -5 goal differential. You look at the shots they're getting per game, they're 28th. Mediocre on special teams. There's just it's kind of lifeless. I don't know. Things change very quickly in hockey, both in a game and during a season. I think we saw with Calgary, and I think it's hitting another Pacific team right now. I think the Kraken are in a tailspin, and it's rough. And with their upcoming schedule, I know they're at home, but there might not be a way out the way they're playing, because Vegas, Columbus, the Rangers, they're all playing pretty good hockey right now, and those are 3 of their next 5 games.
Well, and it's exactly what I'm talking about with regards to Ottawa, right? Is if like you're one of these teams that fancies yourself a playoff team, and listen, they're all going to say the right things, that they want the division and they want top 3 in the division and blah, blah, blah. But if the Kraken get into the playoffs, and Ottawa too for that matter, they're going to be a wild card team, more than likely. That's their fate. If they're going to get in, they're probably going to be a wild card team. In the Pacific, you have the Kings, Vegas, Vancouver, and Edmonton. So for you to get in the playoffs as the Kraken, you're probably a wild card team, and that's not a bad thing. That's just probably more to do with the teams that are in your division than it is to do with you. But if you're the Kraken, you need these games right now, because Edmonton, they've been scuffling. They're eventually going to get it together. We all believe, more than likely, they're going to get it together. In the Central, if you're going to be a wild card team, then you have to contend with the Central. Right now, Chicago. I wish. Colorado, they beat you, but they're still not like playing their best hockey, right? Like Nashville, that's a whole other thing. They're playing tonight. We'll get to Nashville in a minute, but if Nashville catches up, Minnesota, that's a team that is doing what you and Ottawa need to do, where they're banking points now. And Minnesota, are they going to be like winning at the rate that they're winning right now? Probably not, but they're banking points away for the end of the year. So if you're Seattle, you got to win these games now. And I know Colorado's a tough opponent, but you're getting Colorado on a losing streak. They're not playing very well. You had them at a very good opportunity, and you let it slip, and quite comfortably too. Like, I know it was 6-3, but it wasn't even really that close. My takeaway last night, I try not to do this just because I'm a Maple Leaf writer. I am a Maple Leaf fan. If you want to know what I think about the Buds, go on to totalapexsports.com and you can read what I think about them. However, after that win last night, Andre, I got to talk about it. They beat Boston 4-0, which you look at it as just a general hockey observer, no big deal. Leafs are a good team. Boston's in kind of a dark place right now. I know that Boston won 2 games over the weekend by a combined score of 5-0. Looks like the ship might be righted. Dude, Boston owns Toronto in the regular season. That's just a fact. They have won, was it 7 or 8 straight regular season games? I think 8 straight regular season games. Like I said, dating back to November the 5th, 2022, the Leafs have not beat Boston in the regular season. And it's all mostly the same cast of characters, right? It's not like this isn't a record dating back to like 2007. Like, this is all pretty much the same teams back for both teams. And Boston's just more physical than Toronto in these specific games. They are pesky to Toronto. They get better goaltending than Toronto. Their special teams take advantage of Toronto. And it doesn't matter if it's in Boston or in Toronto. Boston just embarrasses the Leafs every time they play each other. And last night was the exact opposite. Much has been made about the Toronto Maple Leafs special teams. They were 4 for 40 going into last night. I think it was 4 for 40, 4 for 41, something like that going into last night. They were 3 for 7 on the power play. So that 7 makes it seem not that great, but they were 3 for 7 on the power play, including 3 straight power play goals, 2 of which were within like a minute or two of each other in the second period. The Leafs were 6 for 6 on the penalty kill, which we've talked about this a lot too. Like the Leafs take so many penalties and they kill them all off. But they were 6 for 6 on the penalty kill, 3 for 7 on the power play. And that game 4-0 looks like a blowout and looks like, okay, the Leafs just dominated play. Up until halfway through the second period, I'll just double check. Yeah, Morgan Riley scored the opening goal at 8:44 of the second period. Up until then, it was a very, very close, competitive, tight checking, very physical, some dirty play, some borderline dirty hits, some chippy play, lots of after the whistle scrums, very, very kind of playoff atmosphere-y type feeling game. And the Leafs stuck with it, broke through in the second period, and never looked back. And what was really impressive for me is the Boston Bruins. We all know Brad Marchand, and I know they don't have like Chara anymore or whatever, but that guy, he's a professional at just getting under your skin and making you take stupid penalties. And it was the other way around last night. The Leafs, like Boston, tried to be more physical. Boston tried to, drag the Maple Leafs into a game that they weren't prepared for. And surprise, surprise, Toronto was prepared for it. And they played physical. They were right up there with Boston, playing on that level. And I was just really impressed with what I saw. Now, again, it's early. I'm sure there's going to be a game by the Leafs in like 3 weeks that's going to make me think that this team should just tank for the number 1 pick or something. But I'll just say this, man, that kind of a performance, again, is something that we just didn't see in the Sheldon Keefe era. It's just different. Like, you can tell that Berube was like, before the game, was like, listen, you've been this team's chew toy for like 3 years. Like, let's go out there and prove. And even to add to all of it, they didn't have Austin Matthews. They were 3 for 7 on the power play without Austin Matthews. And they got the job done. I was super impressed with what I saw from the Maple Leafs. And on the other side of it, we've talked about it on this show, man, and we shout out to Elliot Friedman, who I wish knew who we were, but he doesn't. But he said on a Hockey Night in Canada broadcast weeks ago that there's trouble in Boston. He said that, didn't cite his sources, just said there's trouble in Boston. I'm telling you, man, last night, the amount of frustration that was bubbling over, the penalties that they were taking, the way that they carried themselves, it's just not something you see from a Boston team. It's just not. And that, watching it firsthand last night, there was just something about that Boston performance that just wasn't what we're used to. And I felt like it was even more obvious because of the fact that they literally own the Maple Leafs in the regular season, and they have for years. And I think because it was against the Leafs and the team played the way they played, and it was a very physical, close game for the first half of it. But when the Leafs flipped on that switch, Boston just had nothing, and they were taking stupid penalties. And, dude, like 7 penalties. Like, when you have 6 power plays and the other team has 7, like, that's a tough – like, you can't allow the other team to have more power plays than you if you have 6 power plays. And you're 0 for 6 for all of them. So, again, for Toronto, shout out to Anthony Stolarz, man. This guy has just been unbelievable. It's unreal. Without him last night, they may have won the game still, but without him this season, I don't know what the record would be, man. He's been by far is a bit of a stretch since, Nylander has 10 goals. That might be a bit rude, but in my opinion, Stolarz has been the best player on the team through the first few weeks of the season. So a bit long-winded, but that's how I feel about that game last night. I think it was a really important game for the Leafs. Points-wise, you get 2 points. It's early, but just the way that they won that game last night, I thought was a really big deal.
That could be a wonderful thing for their minds moving forward, and come playoff time, that's what matters in Leafland, and that's what's mattered for the past, almost a decade at this point. So, I mean, yeah, you can say it's the regular season. Yeah, you could say it's November, whatever. I think it was a pretty big win. And as for Boston, Friedman was on it. His sources are himself. You obviously saw it, pounced on it right away. Like there might be something to this. Uh, there was fire following the smoke, or at least it seemed that way.
Yeah.
Ever since that tweet came out, we're used to stability up there in TD Garden. I guess for you, it's down there, and then they're not getting it right now. Their co-tenants are making them look real bad. So Bruins might be in some real trouble. And we knew they were going to be going through some rough transitionary periods, whether they liked it or not. But it's the water's getting real choppy.
And it might but just be coming a little bit late, right? Like I feel like we didn't do this show 2 years ago, but I felt like we kind of felt this coming a couple of years ago. And then last year kind of felt, I took the under in their point total last year. I think it was 99.5 coming into the 23-24 season. I took the under. That didn't happen. So maybe it's just happening a little bit later. Now, they're still Boston, right? So you don't count them out, and you're not going to say their season's over by any means. Another thing for the Leafs, too, is I've talked about this on the show before, and I'll end with this, and then we'll move on, because this is what happens when I talk about the Leafs. I just talk for 10 minutes straight. In my opinion, personal opinion, I've said this before, it's really important that the Leafs do the best that they can to win the division. Like, we keep talking about how they've won one playoff round in 9 years since the Matthew Marner's era, and they've only won one playoff round since Mark Sauter was in grade 9. Well, you know how you win more than one round in 20 whatever years? You win your division and play a team that's not, I don't know, a team that's made it to 3 Stanley Cup finals in the last 5 years, or a team or last 6 years, or a team like Boston who just beats you all the time. Like, win your division. I almost swore. I got to pull back. The Florida Panthers, 19 points right now. They're the best team in the league right now. I mean, there's Winnipeg, but until the cup is stolen from their hands, until the Panthers do something to convince us otherwise, they're the champs. And they got 19 points right now. They lead the division. And Toronto's right there with 16 points. So you just got to keep winning. It's a big win for them. So we'll see what happens. They take on Detroit on Friday and Montreal on Saturday, both at home. And both games you should win. No disrespect to Detroit. They're a good hockey team. We all know what's going on with Montreal, although Montreal always gets up to play the Leafs, as we saw in Montreal's home opener. But both games you should win. So we'll see what we're talking about with regards to the Leafs come Monday morning. All right, let's move on. 3 games in the NHL tonight, and just a little news and notes, I suppose. We will be back later tonight towards the end of the games to bring you tomorrow's betting preview. No show tomorrow, but we'll be back later tonight to do the betting preview for Thursday night. All right. First up, Nashville, Washington. Nashville on the road. Plus 105 are the Nashville Predators. Did you we didn't have a show yesterday, but did you hear all the press conferences, all the interviews post-game from their loss the other night against the Kings? Did you hear all that? They lost 3-0 to the Kings.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly saying it's the worst game that I've ever played in my whole career. Like, everybody's just like it was. The score was 3-0, which doesn't seem that bad, but it was a non-contest. Like, the Kings just ran them out of their own building. So it'll be interesting to see what we got tonight. Predators plus 105 now. Washington minus 126. Plus 1.5 for Nashville is minus 250. -1.5 for the Capitals is +198. Andre, what do you got? Nashville, Washington.
I mean, you pretty much just said everything that needed to be said. I thought it was really weird earlier today. I don't know if you saw this. This line was even money, and I thought that was an absolute mistake. Vegas has corrected themselves and made Capitals the favorites, and I'm still taking it -125. That's pretty good value. I mean, just I don't look at the records. It's really that simple. The
Oh,
Predators, you thought they were coming back. You thought they were finding their footing. All they've done since that 3-game winning streak, which we talked about, was very unimpressive. And they've lost 3 or 4 since then.
yeah.
3 of those games were at home. So they're right back to what they were beforehand. And the offense in particular scored 3 goals total in those 3 losses, got shut out the other night. So Nashville's a mess. They really are. I know we keep saying we believe in them, but they haven't shown us we should. And then the Capitals, they haven't lost consecutive games all year. They're coming off a loss against Carolina, nothing to be ashamed about. But they're right back at home. That was the second half of the back-to-back, too. They're fresh. They've won, even with that loss, they've won 8 of their last 10. I believe that they're 6-1 at home, and they haven't lost since their season opener. So Nashville -1, not Nashville, Washington -125. Just really keep it simple.
Dude, like everything within me, like I want to just take Nashville until it comes through, Like we're waiting. We're waiting for Nashville to get it together, to come through, to win a hockey game. The truth of the matter is Washington, like this team is for real. Like Washington is a really good hockey team. At least the way that they play, their style, they're playing really well. Their goaltending's clicking. Like Ovi is on pace for 50 plus goals, which like whether that'll happen or not, who knows? But like he's scoring right now. McMichael is just like the ultimate, fantasy waiver wire pickup if you're into that sort of thing. Tom Wilson scoring goals. Like this team's just playing well right now. I heard a Washington beat writer today on the radio saying that even though the stats aren't there, PLD is a game changer, which I personally haven't seen with my own eyes. But hey, if that's true, then Nashville's really screwed if PLD is even making teams look bad. Listen, man, Nashville's a mess right now. Like they just are. Like I want to believe in them. Will they turn it around? They should. They got too much talent not to, but they're just a mess right now. Stamkos is lost out there, and I think that we undervalued like Stamkos. And I'm sure there are people smarter than I who said this throughout the summer. Maybe you were one of them. I don't remember, but Stamkos has played with one team for his entire career, pretty much one coach for his entire career. He has had more coaches than just John Cooper, but Cooper's been there for over a decade, right? So he's played with pretty much one system his whole career. And I think we underestimated how much of a shock this would really be to him and, to the team. They're just a mess right now. And as much as I want to believe in Nashville, I can't do it. Washington -126 at home. I just think that's the right move right now. You can't put your money with Nashville. Is it possible? Could something happen? Sure. But not only can they not score goals, Saros has been mediocre at like best. Like this is when Saros needs to earn every penny he's getting paid and steal some games. And he's not doing it. Now, you can steal games all you want. If your team's scoring 0 goals, then there's not really much you can do. But I'm with you, man. I'm taking Nashville -125. And I'm staying away from props too, man. I love Philip Forsberg. I love all that, but I can't trust anything right now with this Nashville team. So give me Washington -125. The under it feels like a reason why the under is minus 138, right? Under 6.5. I don't know if I said the totals. My memory escapes me, but it's 6.5 plus 112 on the over, minus 138 on the under, and the under does feel like the right play there for a total. All right, Detroit, Chicago, moving on. Oh, before we do, did you have a thought on that total? The 6.5?
I've been back and forth on it all day, honestly. My initial lean when I first saw it again, it was over 6, and I was like, maybe I'll go over, but I'm not really sure if I trust it. I was shaky on that 6.5. I could see it going over, but I don't know. I could see this going either way, so that's why I trust Washington to win, and I'm just gonna stick with it.
Well, quick little update before we move on. Nashville's now plus 100, and Washington is now minus 120. So some Nashville money coming in. You're getting better value with Washington. Over 6.5 is now plus 114, and the under is minus 140. So the viewers that we have right now must have just put down thousands of dollars on the under because it moved right after I said that. So thank you for taking my advice. That makes me feel really good. All right, moving on. Talk about a line that's bizarre. I know Chicago's at home, but Chicago, Detroit. Sneaky fun game, actually. Patrick Kane back in Chicago. This actually has all the makings of a pretty good contest. Nice original 6. Anytime you see original 6 jerseys on the same ice, it's always a good time. Even money, man. Minus 110 both ways. Detroit in Chicago. Is that a credit to Chicago or is that an indictment towards Detroit? Because I feel like, even though it's in Chicago, I feel like Detroit should be favored at some capacity, even if it's like minus 118 or something. But that's not how it is. Minus 1.5 for Detroit is plus 220, and plus 1.5 for Chicago is minus 280. So again, Chicago love or Detroit hate. It's hard to tell from this side. The over is 6.5 at plus 100, and the under is minus 122. Andre, what do you make of it, man? What do you got?
I appreciate your modesty because we both know what this is, just slapping the most in the face. I mean, that's just how I see it. When's the last time the Blackhawks were favored against a non-Sharks team? That's the real question. And I know they're not favored here, but even money may as well be saying they're favored. And the Blackhawks we talk about how their offense is struggling all year. They're scoring more goals per game than this Red Wings team. They're also allowing fewer goals per game than this Red Wings team. It's not by a lot, but it's there. It's impossible to ignore. Their PK has also been almost 10% better. So there's genuine reason to believe the Blackhawks can and should win this game. We don't really big them up when they do well. They've won 3 of their last 4. The problem with that, and the reason why I'm still trusting the Red Wings, this team is 1-3 at home. All of their success, all of their magic has pretty much come on the road, with the exception of their PK, which plays up in United Center. Otherwise, it's the Blackhawks we came to expect. It's kind of like we're going to see it next game too. There's been a few teams like this already. Until I see it, I'm fading them. If they're in a specific venue, in this case, it is Chicago at home. The Red Wings should win this game. They are the better team. The Red Wings kind of need to win this game. They need another winning streak to really compete for a playoff spot. You would think this is a winnable game. They have Toronto and the Rangers coming up next. I'm going to take the Red Wings minus 110 here. You're probably not going to get a team that's firmly better playing the Blackhawks at those odds ever again this season. So ride with it.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the goalies here. So Cam Talbot, Peter Mrazek in net tonight. Talbot is confirmed. Mrazek is likely. It's 10 after 6, so likely I'm assuming is confirmed at this point in time. Cam Talbot, 3-1-1 on the year, 2.73 goals against, 923 save percentage. So good numbers from him. As a whole, the Detroit goaltending has a 318 goals against and a 907 save percentage. So good, not great. Although the save percentage for Chicago is below 900, the goals against is right around the same at 315. The Blackhawks are 5-7-1. I think the over is the right play here, although Kim Talbot has had a pretty good season to start. I feel like the over is the play, at least from my side of things. I'm right there with you, man. Detroit, listen, it's the same we talked. I know Seattle played Colorado last night, but it's the same thing we talked about with Seattle. It's the same thing we talked about with Ottawa. You want to be a playoff team, you got to win these games, and you got to win them early. There's teams like Boston, Toronto, Florida, the Rangers, Carolina. Those are all teams that have been to the playoffs year after year after year and have some leeway, some wiggle room. Teams like Detroit, you haven't been to the playoffs in forever, man. You don't have wiggle room. You got to win these games, even if you're on the road. I'm taking Detroit minus 110. I think if you're taking Detroit, this is extremely good value. And it's not like they're like underdogs, right? They're right there, even money, minus 110. I'm taking Detroit with you. I like the over as well. As far as props go, I'm curious a couple things. Number one, Connor Bedard. Do you happen to have his totals right there in front of you? Because I know that Donato is leading the scoring for the Blackhawks with 5. I can't remember what Bedard is at as far as goals. So I don't know if you have it there in front of you. He's plus 170 to score tonight.
Yeah, so Donato, like you said, 7 goals, 2 assists, 9 points. Bedard, 3 goals, 9 assists, 12 points. Toivo Teravainen, newcomer in the Windy City, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. So another guy lighting the lamp.
Yeah, plus 270 for Teravainen. What was that?
Yeah, they have a couple. Craig Smith, Nick Foligno, and Tyler Bertuzzi all also have 4 goals for this team.
That's some good value. Tyler Bertuzzi is plus 240. Foligno plus 310. Not bad. And I mean, listen, Ryan Donato, you just said 7 goals on the year. He's plus 310. So some good value for goal scorers on the Chicago side. Dylan Larkin leads the Red Wings in goals. He's plus 160. I'm looking at Alex DeBrincat, and obviously to pick all these guys to score tonight, you got to pick one here. But Alex DeBrincat plus 200, Patrick Kane plus 220, and Lucas Raymond plus 230. Those 3 guys need to get moving. They need to start scoring consistently. They have to. So again, Lucas Raymond plus 230, Kane plus 220, DeBrincat plus 200. I'm looking at all those guys, specifically DeBrincat. I think Raymond and Kane, you want production from them, but DeBrincat's the guy that you're scoring to be a borderline, like you're paying him to be a borderline superstar. And since the first half of last year, we haven't really seen that from him. So I'm looking at DeBrincat not only to get a goal tonight, he is minus 148 for 3+ shots. Pretty juicy, expensive line there, but put that in a parlay or something like that. I mean, 4 shots on goal for DeBrincat is plus 165. But I'm expecting a night from DeBrincat because he's got to step up here at some point soon. All right, moving on. Sorry, you got something else?
No, just you would think. That's all I got.
You would think. You would think. All right, moving on. Final game of the night. Normally, I would complain about the schedule. You know me by now. I would complain about how there's 3 games and they're only staggered by an hour and then by half an hour. But you know what? I kind of like this early night. I don't mind it the way I'm feeling right now. I'm tired, man. I'm okay for an early night. The Las Vegas Golden Knights are in Edmonton, and they say that when you're a parent, time flies. And we were told that Connor McDavid would be out for 2 to 3 weeks. And he's playing tonight. Has it already been 2 to 3 weeks? Has time really flown by that fast? I feel like this happened like last week.
I feel like it happened earlier this week. I don't even feel like it's been a full week yet. But what do I know?
Yeah, it happened like a week and a half ago. Like this did not happen very long ago. And the Oilers, correct me if I'm wrong there, I'm fairly certain that you have the schedule in front of you, or at least it's close to you. I don't think they've lost a game since he's been out, no?
They lost their last game.
Right.
I will double check, but yeah, they lost their last game.
Gotcha.
3-0 to the Devils. Because remember Tuesday.
That's right.
Monday, both the games were just uncompetitive.
Yeah.
Fest.
That's right. 3-0. We were spot on though. We picked the Kings. I picked the Devils. I was spot on. I think you did too, did you not?
I said they were the right pick. I just didn't actually bring myself to do it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right, moving on. Here we go. Vegas, Edmonton. Connor McDavid is back. The Vegas Golden Knights plus 134 on the road. Edmonton, Vegas, best team in the West. No big deal. You get Connor McDavid back, and now you're minus 162 favorites. Plus 1.5 for Vegas is minus 180. Minus 1.5 for the Oilers is plus 146. The over is 6.5 at minus 115, and the under is minus 105. Andre, final game of the night, man. What do you got? Vegas Oilers.
We got to walk back a little bit because you're the biggest Winnipeg Jets fan I know, and you just said the Knights were the best team in the West. It's kind of blasphemous.
That's blasphemy.
That's blasphemous.
Sorry, I meant Pacific, clearly.
Okay, we're good now. We're good.
That's
now.
obvious. Yeah.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the same thing I've been doing with Vegas on the road, and I'm gonna fade them 0-3-1 in their road games. Kind of, I was called crazy on last Wednesday? Jeez, last Wednesday when they were in LA, they're playing. I picked the Kings. I never picked the Kings, but I confidently picked the Kings. I made them my best bet, I believe, at plus money because they were at home. They were playing Vegas, talking about the sports books now. They know what I know about the Golden Knights. Except they don't show up on the road. And the Oilers, I know they lost their last. They had won 4 or 5 before that. They are playing better. They do have the best player in the world back in the lineup tonight. Why would you not take them? I'm taking them. I want to take the puck line. That plus 160 is looking juicy. McDavid's going to ease his way back in, though. I'm just going to stick with the 60-minute line because it's still plus money. Plus 100. Edmonton Oilers. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights. This game, I'm leaning towards the over 6.5. I know you have been on it with these unders in Edmonton. A lot of their games have gone under the total. I know. I hear what you're saying. Most of Vegas's games have been high scoring, over the total. David's back. They're going to score 4, 5, 6 goals, whatever. The Golden Knights, they're not going to, they're not going to win, but they're going to light the lamp. They're going to make it interesting. Over 6.5.
Wow.
Edmonton 60-minute lineup.
I'm with you on the over. I am with you on the over. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. I'm right there with you. I am not with you on the side. This is my thing. The Edmonton Oilers have not been playing great this year. They lost McDavid. They had to step up. They had to have next man up, and they needed to right the ship while he was gone. And they did that. Draisaitl was scoring. Hyman's been scoring. They got some wins under their belt. McDavid's first game back, I don't know, man. I just trust the way Vegas is playing right now. Now, that being said, and what's probably a big factor in this Edmonton Oilers line And I believe you mentioned it. Maybe you didn't. Full disclosure, I had to talk to my son here for a minute, but so you know I love you. But has Vegas won on the road yet? I don't think so. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only
So
thing I talk about.
that does concern
They
me.
haven't won.
I will give you that. But I just trust the way Vegas is playing regardless, and eventually they got to win on the road. They got to win on the road. Edmonton's goaltending's been shaky at best. Connor McDavid, he's back. They weren't really playing that well when he left. He's back, first game back. I know best player in the world. He probably doesn't need that long to get back in the swing of things. I just like the way Vegas is playing. I trust them. Plus 134 on the road. All right, moving on to our best bets, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off any card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons and tons of sports cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off not only regular priced items, but sales items as well. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever it is, I promise you they have it at firstroundcollectibles.com. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. Firstroundcollectibles.com. Sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what do you got? Best bet Wednesday night.
Yeah. There's two things I'm really certain about. It's the Capitals winning. It's the Oilers winning. Just because of the odds and the simplicity of it all. Which, by the way, the Oilers played money on this game with minus 115. I kind of got a steal there. Anyway, I'm taking the Capitals minus 122. The Capitals are playing so well. They haven't lost consecutive games this year. They haven't lost at home since their very first game of the season. The Predators are not playing well, and I know in theory they're supposed to be the better team this year, and they're supposed to be more talented and blah, 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 blah. In practice, the Capitals have looked really good. The Predators have looked... This is just wrong, in my opinion. So minus 122 is what I have, and now I'm taking the Washington Capitals to win.
Absolutely love it. And I'm taking Detroit. Keeping it simple. Minus 110. We've talked about it not that long ago. Unless you just joined the show, and then welcome. We're glad you're here. But I think Detroit's winning this game minus 110 all day long. I think, listen, Detroit, and this might not be the best basis. You know, you want to look at stats and trends and blah, blah, blah. Detroit thinks they're a playoff team. So, okay, you're a playoff team. Let's beat the Blackhawks on a Wednesday night in November. Let's go. Minus 110. Terrific
100%.
value if you're taking Detroit. So let's go. Minus 110, Detroit.
Well said. Well said. I'm just going to... I preloaded this already because I know you liked it. I know I liked it. I know there's 3 games, and we have a pick from the first 2. We didn't agree on the side for the third one. We did agree on the over, though. So I have the over 6.5 already, and it's the family play. I hope you don't mind.
Love it. No, I'm right there with you. Over 6.5. I have it at minus 115. I love the over Vegas Edmonton. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I have it minus 118. I think your parlay is going to be mine slightly. I'm plus 541.
Plus 550 for 50.
Yeah.
Plus 554 at FanDuel. It's all right. We're right there.
Sneaking by me again.
Dude, I'll tell you something, man. You use DraftKings. That's the book you like, and that's what you use, and that's great, man. But we are, let's just be real about this. We're giving out free advertising for FanDuel. The FanDuel odds are almost better every single day for these parlays. Like, we got to start talking to somebody at FanDuel because I might have to change books just based on principle.
Yeah.
We're promoting these guys way too much.
Give us a promo code or something. You can shell out, like, geez.
Yeah. Well, you know how with sports books, if you have, like, for sports books, you can have like a refer a friend like code. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you and your friend get like bonuses and stuff. Can I just use that like on YouTube? Like, can I just put that out there? Why not? Right? I think I should be able to.
Yeah. I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. I don't see why not. And if so, then I gotta cash in on some of that. I won't give you anything. What am I kidding? You know I love you, but I'm greedy like that.
Hey, Brady's ready to cash in.
Yeah, where is Brady? Is he around? Not today, eh? Oh, he's probably watching Gabe.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
He came from Gabe, so that's fair. That's fair.
That's not
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. As always, we appreciate you, whether you're watching live or later tonight. Probably live, because if you're watching later tonight, then everything is useless to you. Game starts in half an hour's time. We appreciate you as always. Shout out to Personal Collectibles, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. Shout out Total Apex Sports. Check out TotalApexSports.com for my latest Maple Leaf article and coverage on every single sport known to man. We'll be back later tonight after the games. Until then, see you next time.
Go hard.